Hello, welcome back to another episode of Leointerviews. Today we have Richard Blake with us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I have a PhD in psychology, so I work with research and mental health, and I look at therapy and therapy culture and how it can help some people, but a lot of people don't realise that it's causing harm in other areas, and for other people it doesn't work at all. And those people in the past have usually been told, well, you're part of the problem, or you're not trying hard enough. And the people who get harmed by it are told it's your fault, really. So I try and stand up for those people.
What's the biggest challenge you ever faced, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I'd say the biggest challenge I ever faced was myself, my own struggles with mental health. As a young kid, I was pretty miserable. I had problems with depression and things like that. And I really didn't like myself. I had a lot of self-esteem issues. I had a lot of bad habits and a lot of bad ways of thinking about things that were really making me really unhappy. And I had external challenges, external stressors and things like that I had to overcome. But it was more, I had to overcome my reactions to those things, because everyone goes through stresses. Some people go through more stresses than others, but there is no such thing as a life without challenge and stress. And I don't think we would want a life without challenge and stress, really. So for me, it was learning to think in different ways. It was learning to handle my emotions in better ways, and also look at myself instead of blaming others.
If you think that everybody could change the world by doing one thing, what would it be?
One thing, that's a tricky one. I guess the thing that really springs to my mind is ice baths. I mean, I don't sell ice baths or anything like that, but I just feel like we as a society have made life too comfortable. Like with technology and things, we have more power and comfort than medieval kings and queens. Like we went back to Henry VIII in England and showed him the life of like a poor person lives now. He would be like, how do I get that? The most powerful person in England would have wanted the life of a poor person now. But the poor person probably still has heat in their house, hot water, electricity, a mobile phone, the internet, access to more information than the Library of Alexandria. So I don't think we need to make the world it's good enough, right? We can still improve it in certain areas. We can still make life more fair and more just in certain areas. But if mental illness is really bad in the world, like it's worst ever rate, yet life has never been more comfortable. That says to me, it's not about our external circumstances, it's about ourselves, right? Coming back to my biggest challenge was myself, and I think capacity is this word that I like. So we all have, there's this stress bucket analogy I like. So we all have a bucket and we pour stress into it. So that can be like homework stress or job stress, or it can be like environmental stress, like if you get a cold, that's a stress on your body, and if you eat a lot of junk food, that stresses your body. And we can make sure that our stress bucket doesn't overfill by not putting stresses in, like not eating too many candy bars, because that will make our bucket overfill. But another thing we can do is make our bucket bigger. And that's the thing I think we're not focusing on enough. We can make our bucket bigger so that we can all handle more stress in life. And I think one of the best ways to do that, there are a lot of good ways, but one of the best ones is ice baths. Have you ever done an ice bath?
I've not done one, but I've done something similar, which is dipping my foot into our pool during winter. To me, from being here in Texas, the weather being very hot, that the pool during winter is like the coldest place on earth, Alaska to me.
Yes. Okay. So you know a little bit, but yeah, you haven't done a proper ice bath. There's a lot of them here in Austin, so I'm sure you'll get a chance.
If you think, okay, this is the part where you actually finish the sentence. What is the biggest piece of advice that you could give to someone right now?
The biggest piece of advice I would say is don't chase achievements for mental health. Like, this was the big lesson I learned as a younger man. Like, when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, I thought I would be happy if I got into Men's Health magazine. So that's a magazine for like people who go to the gym. And I thought if I got into that good a shape, I would be happy, I wouldn't be depressed, my family would be together, girls would like me, my friends would be proud of me, and ultimately that doesn't happen. So I spent 10 years of my youth getting into shape. I became a fitness model, I got into Men's Health magazine, and I felt happy for a few weeks, and then my depression came back, and it was worse, because now I was like, well, I did the thing that I thought was going to fix me, and it's not worked. And I think a lot of people think that becoming rich and famous will get them to be happy. I didn't get rich from being a fitness model or anything like that, but there are a lot of people out there like Jim Carrey who says, I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they would realise that it doesn't make you happy.
What is the biggest piece of financial advice that you can give?
I think, so I'm from England, right? And I notice in America there's more wealth. America is a richer country than the UK, but I feel like there's more people who mismanage their finances. Like, there's more people who get rich, but here there's a lot more people who end up homeless and in huge amounts of debt. So it seems really simple, but just don't spend more than you have. Like, getting into huge amounts of credit card debt, I feel like everyone sort of knows that, but then they hear a story about how someone who takes out a loan and they gambled on an investment and it came off and they got really rich. But those are the stories you hear, the exception to the rule. And actually the best form of advice I had from my dad was quite a good businessman. It was just like, don't get into too much debt, be patient, pick a good strategy and stick with it over the long run. And compounded interest and compounded returns, and just living like within your means. I think this is another thing of like, people think they'll be happy if they have the fancy car or the fancy watch, and they stretch themselves too far. Maybe some people are happy like that, but for me, I feel a lot more happy being like, well, I have a huge buffer here. I've spent some money here, but in my bank account, I still have all this money if things go bad. And it amazes me so how few Americans don't save money. Like, they don't have 3 months of cash if they lose their job. And like, this is not, I'm not saying like people who are struggling to make ends meet, like, they're not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guys I know and girls I know who are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and yet they don't have any savings. Like, they just spend it on Michelin-starred restaurants and vacations and things. Like, there's no excuse other than their like desire to outstretch their desire to save.
Exactly, guys. Savings, you should always save money.
That's right.
And also save like a box from like the 1980s, because if you get on an Atari box from here in the USA from like 1980 today, it's probably worth like a couple hundred. So not only save, but always save your money as well, children and people watching this.
Yes.
For people who are finding and still don't really know what their true, like, I guess, dream or passion or what they want to do in life, what would you say to them right now?
Yeah, I guess, I think it's ikigai. There's this Japanese way of thinking. It's like, I want to be a professional soccer player, right? Or always have wanted to be, but I'm not that good at soccer, right? So I can't be a professional soccer player. The world doesn't need soccer players at the level of ability I can offer. I also want to be, what I'm coming on to is like, you need to find something you're good at and something the world needs and something you're going to get paid for. So when you're thinking about those things, don't just think about what you're passionate about, because you could be passionate about like fireplaces and building fires, but no one's going to pay you to build fires. Like, you can enjoy building fires, but the world needs fires, yes, but it's quite easy to do, so other people are going to do it for free. So I also think, like, it's very difficult to know what you want to do until you've kind of experienced life. Like, my first job was in real estate, so I worked with warehouses for a big company in the UK, and I did that for sort of 6 years, and it was fine. And then when I got turned to 28, I realised this is probably not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And I think there's a lot of pressure. I remember when I was 16, I had to choose the subjects I wanted to do so that I could go to university and do the subject I wanted to do. And then from university, you go and you pick your job. And at age 16, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I should have done psychology, but I didn't know. I didn't know myself at age 16. And so I think if you're under the age of 30 and you still don't know what you want to do, it's probably fine. And if you're over the age of 30, I think there are ways to get to know yourself better. So things like, I teach breath work, I think meditation is really useful. Ways of getting to know yourself without distraction, without the internet, without TikTok, going inside and listening to that part of you that doesn't get heard very often.
What do you think, I guess, makes someone technically strong on the inside?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there is a gene that some people have called the COMT gene. So there's a big debate about what makes a person. Are they born the way they are, or is it their parents and their environment? And I think the argument is kind of like it's a bit of both, but we don't really know how much. With this COMT gene variant, people with it, when they have a stressful event, when a dog comes and nearly attacks them, everyone kind of gets stressed if they have a normal nervous system. Everyone's a bit scared by a big scary dog coming out of nowhere. Certain people will just sort of shake it off and that'll be fine. But other people, they'll stay in that stress state for many, many hours afterwards, because when you get stressed, the brain releases something called catecholamines, and they're these little molecules that you all felt like they wake us up, but they don't feel great because you feel a bit scared and
So it's
stressed.
like fear.
Yeah, so that's fear. Fear, if you could say fear in the body, what's happening in the body, it's a release of these catecholamine type things. And basically, some people with this gene, that fear doesn't go away for a long, long time, and they need to do a lot of things to calm themselves down, like go to a quiet place, read a book, get a hug from a friend. So there's genetics to being strong inside. And then there are practices you can do. So I have a dog, right? I have an Australian Shepherd dog. And I can remember taking her to a training school. And if you've ever seen a dog in a daycare, some of them are just sort of cowering in the corner. They just really don't like it. Some of them, like my dog, is running around everywhere, playing with everyone, sniffing everyone, getting into fights. And then the key thing is she'll get in a fight with a bigger dog and that dog will win, but she just shakes it off really quickly. She rebounds really quickly from adversity. And I had this scenario played out to me perfectly. So I took her to a dog park, and we were walking into the dog park that has 2 gates. So to keep the dogs safe so they can't run away, there's one door and then there's a second door. And I got into the second door, and a nasty dog, before I could even get the leash off my dog, came and pinned my dog down by the throat. It had its teeth around her throat. My dog was squealing. I was trying to wrestle this dog off. Its owner was shouting at it. Eventually I managed to, I picked it up by the collar, and that kind of choked it, and it stopped trying to kill my dog. I had an argument with the owner. They left, and my dog, who seemingly nearly died, shook it off and ran off to go and play with other dogs. Whereas I, for the rest of the day, was completely on edge, so angry at what had happened, so scared of what had happened. Oh my God, my best friend nearly died, and my dog was just yeah, it's fine.
Just normal Tuesday or Monday.
Exactly, and that's the difference between someone who's sort of a creature that's a particularly like resilient dog, like this is what the trainers would say. She's a really resilient dog. She bounces back really quickly, whereas I'm more sensitive, and hence I don't bounce back so quickly. So I have to work harder to be more like my dog. My dog is a great way for me to feel safe. My dog, when I look into its eyes, I release oxytocin, that helps calm me down. I do a lot of things like ice baths and sauna and working out, breath work and meditation to try and strengthen myself from the inside as well.
Just something that I just wanted to say is, from like people who like speak, the old English, like medieval English, right, with the accent. A bunch of people say like different adjectives. So for some people, it's nasty. In the UK, what does like nasty really mean?
Nasty. So nasty would be like mean. Yeah, someone really mean, I would say.
So like, you nasty pig.
Yeah. If someone was like, that dog was nasty because it came and attacked my dog for no reason, right? Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish that you knew earlier?
Good question. Yeah, one thing I wish I knew earlier.
In your life?
Yeah, I think to compare myself less to others is a really difficult thing to do because social media now makes it very easy to look at people, and if you look at someone, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, but it's kind of like TikTok for business, right? And everyone does this thing of like taking something really mundane and turning it into like a big business success. And it's become a bit of a joke right now. So it's very hard to know how well someone really is doing because in LinkedIn language, you can make anything seem impressive and cool. And so I think a lot of people will see that and go, oh, well, that person's doing amazing, and I'm doing average shape. So yeah, I think tying my self-esteem to how I rank compared to the people around me, I think that's quite a foolish thing that I've done many times, and I still do, but it doesn't make me happy.
And this is where we get on to kind of towards the last of the podcast. And as usual, we have, our funny segments. So I decided not only just the funny questions, I've decided to make our very own secret game that I will, I guess, bring up later. So I don't really know what they have in the UK, but what is like your guys' Coke?
Well, I mean, we have Coke and Pepsi. They're huge. Okay. They're all around the world. They did try to make some different ones, like Virgin Cola. So Virgin Atlantic Aeroplanes and Virgin Galactic. So that company tried to make Virgin Cola, but it wasn't as good as Pepsi and Coke.
Oh, so they're just like Coke.
Yeah, Coke is everywhere. Yeah.
I've seen so many memes about like just like European food in general. Like I've just seen so many like memes about it. If you could describe your guys' food in like one word on a regular Tuesday, what would it be?
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, English food is very brown and kind of beige, like pies, fish and chips, mashed potato, shepherd's pie. English food gets a bad reputation. It is delicious, trust me, but compared to like the French and the Spanish and the Italians, I feel like they're very famous cuisines and it's very sort of fancy and snobbish. England has a lot of really good restaurants. I think it has like the third most. London has the third most Michelin-starred restaurants in the world. So there's a lot of really good restaurants, but they're like a Chinese restaurant, a French restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and there's a lot of famous English chefs as well. So Heston Blumenthal, Gordon Ramsay, Jamie Oliver. There's a lot of good English chefs, but the traditional food that we've had for the last 1,000 years, it gets made fun of by other countries.
And I'm not making fun. I've just seen like so many memes about it, like across the internet, just different videos. I'm like, I must get to the bottom of this. So with the game that I just totally not just thought in my mind like 30 seconds ago, it is called how similar. And basically how it works is, in the UK, you guys may call some stuff different. That's okay. We respect that. But how similar are two different English countries?
So when you say English countries, what do you mean?
So like USA and UK or Europe or London, Britain, I don't know where.
Yeah, so do you mean, so countries that speak English, like England, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, those I'd say are, the sort of Anglosphere countries, and they're quite based on England. They have the English court system, obviously they speak English. So England and the US are very similar compared to, the US and England are much more similar than the US and France, or the US and Italy, or the US and China. So I would say if you're looking for a country that's most similar to the US, I guess probably the next closest is Canada, and then it's probably the United Kingdom. And then Australia is similar, but they have different accents. I can do all the accents if you need me to, but all the Anglosphere countries are quite similar relative to Mexico or something like that.
So how the game works is I'm just gonna name like a random object or like everyday tool, and you'll say what it's, I guess what's called there, right? And then we'll just see how different the words are and what you guys call whatever. So for us, our shopping cart is called a shopping cart.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, so in England we call it a trolley.
But a trolley is the thing that you. How? No, wait. No. Huh?
So yeah, a trolley I think in America is like the train.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'd call that a train.
So do you guys have like the trolley shopping cart and then the actual trolley?
No.
Oh.
So we would just the shopping. It would be called the shopping trolley, which you put your food in, and then that kind of trolley that carries people across the city, we would call that a train.
So for us, the back of the car that you open is the trunk.
Yes.
Over there it is.
It is the boot.
The boot.
Yes, it's the boot.
But a boot, I might have to go visit someday. I gotta figure out more about what is going on.
Yeah, there's a few others like a stroller. For a baby, we call that a pram.
Wait.
A pram.
Pram?
Yeah, a pram, yeah. What else do we say? So
microwave?
Microwave is microwave.
Okay.
Eyeglasses, we just say glasses. Horseback riding, we just say horse riding. Sidewalk, we call the pavement.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, pavement. Sidewalk, this makes sense, but yeah, I mean, there's a funny English comedian who makes fun of this, because he's like, why did we need to call it sidewalk in America? Were people just walking in the middle of the street and they didn't know where to walk and they were getting hit by cars? We had to go tell them, no, you have to walk on the side because otherwise you'll get hit.
That's going to be it for today's episode, guys. And before I forget, do you have maybe like any socials or channels or something where people can find out more about you?
Yes, I do. I'm mostly on Instagram at The Breath Geek. I do a little bit on YouTube again at The Breath Geek, and my website is richardlblake.com.
Well, you guys heard it. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you guys get notified when I make a new video. But it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you, Leo.
Yes. Well, until next time, guys. Bye.